The U.S. economy has been expanding at a rate that appeared too wonderful to be true for the previous few years. Thus, the gross domestic product figure released on Thursday, which shows that the U.S. economy expanded at an annualized pace of 1.6% in the first quarter of this year, as opposed to 3.4% in the fourth quarter of last year, appears to be exactly what the doctors at the Federal Reserve ordered. However, there's only one issue: inflation. According to the most recent data on the Consumer Price Index, inflation is increasing and eroding from the Federal Reserve's 2% objective. Additionally, analysts predict that Friday's new inflation statistics will show similar trends. Another sneak peek at what's to come was provided by the GDP report. Is there danger ahead? High rates of inflation can be painful, although they are usually somewhat offset by low unemployment rates. This is due to the fact that companies can often only increase prices when consumers can pay them. On the other hand, businesses will find it difficult to pass on greater prices to their customers when unemployment is high and people are making cutbacks, which keeps inflation low. The 1970s saw one of the worst periods of stagflation as a result of a sharp increase in living expenses brought on by the Arab oil embargo against the U.S. and other nations who backed Israel during the Yom Kippur War of 1973. However, the economy entered a recession when the Fed raised interest rates in an attempt to reduce inflation. The U.S. economy looks more like the 1970s than we've seen before, he said earlier this week at a discussion hosted by the Economic Club of New York. He repeated that message in a Wall Street Journal interview published Thursday before the GDP report was released. Things looked pretty rosy in 1972. They were not rosy in 1973, Diamond said. There are certainly eerie parallels to the 1970s, with heightened geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and rising oil prices, but many economists feel the U.S. is nowhere near the situation it faced then. Even at its recent peak, inflation was well below the high of that decade of nearly 12%. At the current pace, prices are rising even more slowly when compared to the 1970s. But the growing consensus among economists and investment strategists is that the days of the Goldilocks economy, where inflation was coming down without slowing GDP, are numbered. While the Goldilocks narrative has prevailed so far this year, in more ways than one, it's as if she tripped over today's GDP report and scraped her knee, wrote Mike Reynolds, Vice President of Investment Strategy at Glen Maid, in a note Thursday. We are witnessing a deadly proposal for the U.S. economy. The government rejects any possibility of administering and balancing the budget. The unsustainable deficit is printing money, resulting in higher taxes and likely persistent inflation. You are poorer, and the government becomes larger every year. Keynesianism is the destruction of the middle class. By printing money and bloating deficits and spending, the size of government in the economy rises faster than the private and productive sectors. The size of the government increases during recessions by increasing expenditure to combat them, and it also increases during economic downturns by hiking taxes and creating inflation, which is a hidden tax. What we are witnessing is a slow nationalization of the economy. Small businesses and families are suffering from higher rates because the government has created inflation and driven deficits to unsustainable levels, and the government demands more tax revenues. That concludes our in-depth analysis of the possible catastrophe that could befall the U.S. economy today. Please use the like button and share this video with people you think should see it if it made you think. Remember to subscribe for more insightful updates and insights on the factors influencing the economy. Keep up the good work, stay knowledgeable, and I'll see you in the next one as we continue to solve the problems that lie ahead. Till then, be careful.